What's wrong, little bro? Huh? It's me, your older brother Kaz. What's wrong? You're crying because you don't have a podcast to watch? Well, guess what, nerd? You can watch the Convos with Calvin podcast, starring my best friend, Calvin. And guess what? You can watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it on Anchor. You can listen to it on Spotify. And guess what else? For $1 a month, that's right, $1 a month, you can support Calvin and his podcast on patreon.com. And guess what you get? For $1 a month, you get access to an exclusive Discord server where you can meet some cool people. And guess what else? You'll get your name shout out on the podcast. What's better than that? What's better than supporting some small-time creator? Absolutely nothing. That's right, nothing. Anyway, here you go, buddy. Enjoy the episode.
Ooh,
that was good.
That's
I'm
nice.
digging that one.
That's really nice.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Convos with Calvin podcast. I'm your host, Calvin, and today I'm joined by my older brother, William.
Hello.
We got a little bit of different of a setup going. That's because I'm using a mobile setup, and I'm doing this in my house. So if the quality's kind of trash, now you know why.
Just a little bit. I mean, you couldn't. I don't think we could have picked actually either my room or your room were the only two places.
I wanted to go with my room because my room was smaller, and it has a lot more crap in it that would make it a little bit more soundproof.
I guess, but like neither of them are great.
No, neither of them are great. It's not like the studio back at school.
Both of our rooms are just
they're kind of poopy garbo.
Kind of a garbage heap.
For real. So,
boy.
Before we get into the podcast, I want to do my Patreon shout out because I actually have one now.
You have a Patreon?
I'm in the big time, baby.
Oh man, you got a Patreon. Oh, did we just?
It's fine. So I'd like to make a shout out to my boy Edgar. He's making.
What's up, Edgar? You a real one.
Edgar's a real one for real. He's making the big money moves and
$1 whole a month.
$1 a month, baby.
Dude, 1 year you'll have $12.
For real.
You can go get yourself a Beyblade.
I could, dude. Beyblades are gonna be coming back in a big way.
God, I remember when we first got into Beyblades, we didn't even know about the toys beforehand. We just knew about like the TV show, like the anime that they had on Cartoon Network, and like how dramatic it tried to be. And it's literally a show about a bunch of angsty teens ripping tops into a giant fucking.
Well, it's the same thing as Yu-Gi-Oh. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh is just.
It's a card game.
It's a children's card game on motorbikes.
On motorbikes, Jesus.
For real,
I mean, at least Pokemon was a little bit more like, yeah, this is a worldwide thing and everyone does it.
Yeah, well, Pokemon was just like, this is Pokemon. We're training little friends and they're gonna beat the crap out of each other.
But they're like in Pokemon, they did this thing where it wasn't even just trainers. Like there were people who loved Pokemon, but they weren't trainers. Like Professor Oak, he wasn't a trainer. He was just a scientist that was really curious about like what Pokemon were and what made them evolve and blah de blah 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 blah.
Just usual Pokemon president. Nice.
Ooh,
Professor.
To kind of start on
not president.
The Pokemon president.
The Pokemon president.
President Oak. No, I guess kind of to get the ball rolling, and it's kind of in the same vein as that was. We've been kind of on the reignited Star Wars hype train.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about this with you.
Yeah, like the Star Wars hype train's kind of reignited, and we can talk about all the stuff that's come out.
So,
and I kind of want to circle back to something that I've been thinking about that I think would be or is really a really cool idea. But no, like at the time of recording, what was it, 2-3 days ago that the Clone Wars trailer dropped?
I think it officially dropped. Yeah, like 2 days ago.
Well, no, like it dropped, and we all knew that we were going to be getting something that was really close to episode 3, and we all kind of thought it was going to do what the old animated movies did, like the cartoon movies.
You mean Star Wars Clone Wars?
Yeah, Star Wars Clone Wars, like the cartoon ones where
those weren't movies. That was a TV show.
Oh, that was a TV show.
Yeah.
Well, the way I watched them is that they were two discs and they were hour and a half long movies.
Do we have those? Where'd you watch them?
Movie Gallery. We rented them from Movie Gallery.
I want to watch them so bad.
They're not as good as you.
No,
remember.
you're right, because they're awesome.
No, they're not as good as you remember. They're actually not that good.
I watched. I was listening to this podcast where they were talking about it, and it's like it's just a lot of frenetic action. It's like one thing right into another, and there's a scene of like Mace Windu just like barehanded tearing apart super battle droids, and it's like
that was actually really.
He never does anything like this ever.
That was actually one of the coolest things about that was because in the first one especially, there's not a whole lot of dialogue. It's mostly just it's showing you the war of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, the Battle of Coruscant has almost no dialogue in it, and the scenes of the ARC troopers, there's nothing. It's just hand signals.
It's hand signals, and maybe every now and again, like a comm link from command. Don't eat the microphone. What are you doing? Stop. But no, I thought we all kind of assumed that this new season of Clone Wars that's coming out on Disney Plus.
I'm so hyped.
I'm hyped, but we all thought it was going to be what they did with those movies, where it was going to go right up to the beginning of Episode 3. You know, how like Obi-Wan and Anakin are flying in their ships. That's how how those.
I'm kind of if it's gonna basically season 7 is gonna overlap with a lot of Episode 3. A lot of people think it's going to end with Order 66, which I'm excited because there's a lot that they can do with it, and I kind of want to see an Ahsoka versus Vader fight, but Ahsoka still thinks that he's Anakin. Like I really want to see that.
I think Ahsoka would know if Vader was Anakin, but also like how.
But she didn't. No, she didn't. When she fought Vader, I think she was still under the impression that like, oh, you killed my master.
Well, I hope we also kind of get an explanation to how she got the white lightsabers, because we didn't get that in Rebels, right?
No, so she has the blue lightsabers in this.
Yeah, she's got blue. Like she leaves with green lightsabers, and now she's coming back with blue. And then later in the timeline, we see her in Rebels with white. So I kind of hope we see something in this season that would explain how she got the white sabers, because.
I don't think we will.
I don't know, because I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and if there are any other diehard Star Wars fans watching this, you would know that the way to get a red saber is by turning any other color of a kyber crystal, like
so they changed it.
Yeah, they changed it. Like they fill it with the dark side, and then it becomes red. But then once you leave the dark side, it becomes white.
I was reading it. So in the old canon and Legends, they weren't able, so they didn't agree with like the colors of the Jedi or whatever, so they made kyber crystals
like synthetic
out of pure rage and hatred. Dude, they literally just they made it out of pure rage. So that was the thing, and that made them red, and a very talented Jedi could take the synthetic crystals and purify them with the Force to make them into technically pure kyber crystals,
and that's more
and
or less
it made
the
them white.
That's more or less what the canon is.
But now, so the red kyber crystals now are just regular kyber crystals.
Yeah, they're just
regular. So kyber crystals are now like a semi-living Force being, and Jedi forge a bond with their kyber crystal, which determines what color it is.
And that was a really cool.
I think that's a cool concept, and it kind of explains in Fallen Order why you can change your lightsaber color all the time.
Yeah, because it's kind of whatever you think Cal is.
Yeah, but now, so with the whole bond thing, Sith can't form bonds with kyber crystals. The bag just fell over. Oh, no. Sith can't form bonds with their kyber crystals. So they try to force a bond which causes them to bleed, which makes them red. And I think that's angstier than making one out of pure anger and rage.
It's pretty angsty.
You're literally just like slitting your wrists.
But yeah, no, we got a lot of cool drops this weekend along with the Clone Wars trailer. They announced that Kenobi
was delayed.
Kenobi was delayed, but it is coming. We are getting Kenobi.
At first it was delayed indefinitely, but then Ewan McGregor was like, nah, that's bullcrap.
Nah, that's bullcrap. I'm doing it. But no, like we got confirmation that Kenobi has been delayed, but it's coming. Like it's started production. Like they're working on it.
They haven't filmed it yet. They're brushing up the scripts, is what Ewan McGregor said.
Yeah, they're getting everything ready to start filming. They're getting the production ready to go.
Since we talked about the Star Wars of the current, I want to take a step back and talk about the Star Wars of the past.
I also wanted to talk a little bit about Star Wars from the past, but we could talk about your stuff first, because mine's just kind of a...
Recently, I have rewatched my childhood favorite Star Wars movie. And I decided to take notes on it and talk about everything that I thought was interesting and or dumb. Because all of the Star Wars movies, and I'm going to get flamed for this, they're all kind of not that great.
Okay.
And we're not going to get on that.
Okay.
They have a lot going for them. They're amazing, but there's a lot of stuff in it that's like, it's kind of fucking stupid.
Can I touch on something as you pull your stuff up?
I have it up right now.
Well, let me just say this really
Just go ahead.
So when Star Wars came out, like our dad was a teenager.
He was baby.
No, he wasn't.
He was a little kid.
Oh well, he was old enough to remember going and seeing Star Wars.
Oh yeah, because he said he saw it like over 12 times.
Yeah. Like when Star Wars came out, it was this huge spectacle of a movie because no one had ever seen anything like this before, and that's what the original trilogy was. It was this huge spectacle with a pretty look back on it, a pretty generic story.
Oh well, yeah.
It's a pretty generic story.
But they made it their own.
But
they really took and made it their own.
George Lucas took that story, made it its own thing in its own world, and I think the story became better because of the spectacle of the movies. And then when they announced in the 90s that they were going to be doing this prequel series, so you found out where Darth Vader came from and where all these people came from, and how all this stuff started.
Hello there.
They made George Lucas made a creative choice that I think was a bit strange, is that when you look back and you rewatch all the prequels are a lot more story driven than the original trilogy was.
Yes.
And I think that's what made it falter, was because Star Wars in and of itself is a spectacle. Star Wars has never been known for phenomenal storytelling. Yes, it has cool story beats.
Okay, but I would argue that the movie I'm about to talk about is not a spectacle. It's story driven. Right. And it's still awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the best of the three is
and also made to sell toys.
Oh, most definitely. And I think like the whole point I want to get to is this last trilogy that has just wrapped up, and I'm not going to spoil anything. I think most people have
That's
seen
how I feel about it.
That's how most people feel about it. But I love these three movies. They're not great.
Congratulations. I want to talk about my thing.
Okay.
I'm cutting you off because you're going to ramble forever.
I just wanted to say that these are good movies and they're spectacles.
I appreciate your opinion because they are very, very flashy.
But that's about it.
That's about
it.
So my childhood favorite Star Wars movie was Empire Strikes Back.
Oh,
or as I called it as a little toddler, Star Wars Episode V, the one where Luke Skywalker gets his hand cut off.
Yeah.
Which is what it's called in my notes right now.
Episode V.
So, as we know, there's like the text scroll at the beginning, and it basically like...
Iconic.
Yeah. It's just like, hey, the rebels are getting chased by the Empire, which happens in, The Last Jedi, except in Luke Skywalker gets his hands cut off. It's just the first half of the movie, but in Last Jedi, they drag it out. It's the whole movie. And like, literally to show you how copied it is, Darth Vader has like a dreadnought class ship. The whole movie in Last Jedi, they're getting chased by a dreadnought class ship.
A dreadnought. Yeah,
which Darth Vader's cruiser looks fucking sick.
Darth Vader's cruiser in that, I think, is cooler than the First Order one.
Yeah.
Because the First Order one's just like this wide boy, and then the one in Empire is just so much more like streamlined and sleek.
Yeah. So cool. My first note is, so as you know, they're on Hoth. Literally 30 seconds into the movie, Luke is attacked by the Abominable Snowman. Like, in record time, breakneck, Luke is like, oh, there's a meteorite that crashed. And Han's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go back to base. And he's like, I'm going to go look at the meteorite. And then literally he turns that way, and the Abominable Snowman just like, it's like no effort at all. Luke's just knocked out.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be at this point like kind of trained at how to be a Jedi.
No, not really at all.
I mean, he's done a little bit from what Ben taught him.
Yeah. So then Han goes back to the base, and as soon as he walks in, the first person he talks to is a general, and he's like, "Yeah, I gotta go, because Jabba the Hutt has a bounty on my head, and he's gonna fucking kill me." And then the general, and they're in the secret Hoth base that the Empire doesn't know about, is like, "Okay, yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah,
You can leave,
Okay.
even though you know where our secret base is. You can go."
Okay, but yeah, that's a good point. He knows where the secret rebel base is, where they're hiding from the Empire, and the Empire doesn't even know that they're there. But
Well, not yet.
well, not yet. At this point, they don't know. But why did Han is in a secret rebel base. The Empire doesn't even know where he is. Why is he just like?
Why is he trying to run away from Jabba the Hutt?
He's like, Jabba's gonna
So
find me here.
I know they did it because Harrison Ford wasn't sure about coming back for a third and what was going to be a fourth movie at the time. They did it to like kind of set that up, but like in the story context, that's kind of awful.
It was pretty bad.
So next thing, Leia and Han I have some lines written down. Leia and Han get into an argument, and Han screams at her,
Nerd.
"You could use a good kiss," and that's it.
When does she call him?
He's
nerd
like
herder?
mad, and it's in that art. No, it's
Or
in a
is that-
later argument when they're on the Millennium
that
Falcon.
when-
I don't
is that
have that
when
one
they
written
kiss?
down.
That's why-
So after that, I have the snow cave scene when he's hanging upside down. So this I thought
Are
about
we just
after
gonna go beat for beat? Through?
beat for almost beat for beat.
Can we like streamline this? a
I'm
little
I'm
bit?
trying.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Alright.
So he's hanging upside down, and his feet are frozen in the ice, which means that the snowman had to either lick his feet or lick the ice and stick him up there until he froze up there.
Unless the snowman has ice powers.
I don't think he does. So in the scene, Luke cuts himself out and cuts the arm off the abominable snowman. In the Disney Plus edit, from the time the lightsaber hits his hand to when that scene cuts away, the lightsaber is on, despite it making a turning on sound after it hits his hand and a turning off sound before he leaves the cave.
Interesting.
Luke dabs in the baby tank. There's another
dabs
scene
in
where
the
Leia
baby
and Han argue as they do regularly in the movie.
And
And then Leia kisses Luke, and I have here written down Leia didn't kiss Luke, she kissed Mark Hamill, because after they kiss, Luke is just like Hoth speeders.
what a move, though.
The Hoth speeders look awesome, and all the stop motions effects still really hold up. How did they lose at Hoth? There's literally
Really?
5 AT-ATs and
Really?
a single AT-ST.
But no, like you got to think about it this way. When you think about it from like an actual strategic standpoint, there is no.
They should have won. They had
There
the
is-
mobility. They could take. You literally
But
see
not-
them take out the AT-ATs with the tow cables.
But like you don't even like from a strategic standpoint, they don't need to run away or go anywhere
They should have won.
because not only are they entrenched, like the Empire has to come to them on a big open field.
Exactly.
All you have to do is just kind of shoot at them and pick them off as they come.
But they're like, no, we gotta run away.
You gotta run away.
So
I guess also because
I thought I heard a knock on the door.
No, that's just also because like the Empire was inevitably going to siege them if they
Yeah,
could win the initial
exactly,
battle. So
exactly.
I guess that's why they
Yeah.
ran away.
So, the Empire breaks into the base, and Leia, Han, and Chewie and C-3PO are trying to escape, and they have to do repairs on the Falcon before they can take off. And they're built, you know, the ion cannon that the stormtroopers pull up in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So we see that.
Yeah.
So they're setting it up, and they're gonna blast the Millennium Falcon and destroy it. And then Han's like, this ship's got some secrets. And then an auto turret pops out and shoots everyone.
Yeah.
And it's never used or mentioned in the
Again.
entirety of Star Wars afterwards.
Yeah, is that like that's like
Also,
the only secret
Here's another Star Wars thing that I have to complain about. The Hoth speeders require a pilot and a gunner
Yeah.
to operate properly.
Right.
But an X-Wing only requires a pilot,
Well, it's a
despite being arguably harder to pilot.
Well, those ships were modeled off of not modeled, but based off of like World War II actual fighters.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of different fighters.
Well,
and
a lot was inspired by World War II.
Some fighters could be piloted by just one dude, and then other bigger ones, or like clunkier ones, had to have a pilot to make sure it was flying right and a gunner to shoot the bad guys.
Shoot the bad guys. Okay. So next thing, Luke just after he crashes and destroys one of the thingies, he gets in his X-Wing with R2-D2 and just says "fuck you" and doesn't tell anyone where he's going and leaves.
Pretty much.
And no one questions it.
No one questioned. Yeah.
No one says anything. Also, I didn't call it Dagobah. I have it listed as Swamp Nuts.
I hate you.
Then Han goes into an asteroid field. I have never told me the odds written down. Han continues to show how good of a pilot he is despite piloting a pita bread sandwich.
Pita bread sandwich.
When Luke meets Yoda, Yoda's just a fucking goblin.
Yep.
He's just like,
dude. Okay.
It's so funny. Humor that they put in that is so good because Yoda's just a freaking goblin.
Well, like
dude.
if you look at Star Wars contextually and you haven't seen Episode 5 before you've seen the rest of Star Wars, like Yoda as this wise, old, subdued figure, and then in Episode 5 he's just an actual goblin.
He's tiny and he's a goblin.
It's so strange.
It's so good. Yoda has seen R2 but says nothing because he's a goblin.
Just like Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan definitely remembers R2.
Yeah. I know at the end of Episode 3 they had the memories wiped, but I don't think R2's memory got wiped.
No, just C-3PO's.
Yeah, so R2...
So they pulled a...
R2 should know Yoda.
So they pulled a Babu Freak before Babu Freak.
I guess, yeah. Also, Obi-Wan keeps saying that you have to go to Yoda, the man that trained me.
He didn't train.
Yeah, we know Qui-Gon Jinn did, so I guess that got retconned.
Maybe
Palpatine calls up Vader and's like, hey, Anakin Skywalker has a son, and this guy's Anakin Skywalker's son. And then Vader is like, Anakin Skywalker had a son? Really?
Well, no, I think that Vader thought that when he inadvertently killed Padme that he killed the babies along with him.
Maybe. I don't really know. That makes sense, actually. But even Palpatine was like, yeah. I didn't even know that Anakin Skywalker had a son, despite him saying to Anakin Episode 3, like, I know you're having kids, dude. I know you were laying down some pipe.
Yeah, but, like, again, I guess they didn't know if Padme had actually had the kids before Anakin.
That makes sense now that you bring it up. I just thought it was, like, no knowledge, but I guess not. Maybe it was just to Obi-Wan and Yoda and the one guy.
That was aggressive.
It was. Cave scene is good.
Which cave scene? Oh, cave scene with Vader?
Yeah.
Cave scene. That they tried to recreate in the newest Star Wars. It did not work.
Then I have not a lot really happens, just Force stuff with Yoda and Luke.
I don't know, that training. Have you seen the
training stuff is good.
No, the bad lip reading song that they do with Yoda.
Funny. Yeah, it's like talking about seagulls and stuff.
It's so funny.
Lando and Han's interaction continues to prove that Solo was a good movie. Fuck you if you said it was bad. So then Luke leaves because he has visions about Leia and Han getting fucked, and then they're like, if you leave, you won't finish your training. But then when he's like, I won't turn to the dark side, both Yoda and Obi-Wan are like, Obi-Wan's like, I can't interfere if you start fighting Vader. And then he looks at Obi-Wan and he's like, I know. Which is said a bunch of times in this movie.
I know.
But then they let him go. They don't try and stop him after that. And to me, that I would argue that Luke did finish his training. Just Yoda wanted him there for a little bit extra because he knew he was still like really troubled with this one thing.
Okay, one thing that they tried, I guess, successfully retconned in Star Wars was how in Episode 1, when Qui-Gon brings Anakin before the council.
Keep talking. I want to check what time we're at.
Okay. We can probably try to speed this up. I have one more thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good right now.
Let's make this, I don't know, second to last note. Let's jump to kind of towards the end of the movie after this. But no.
Yeah, no, I only have a couple more notes left.
Qui-Gon brings Anakin before the council, and they're just like, oh, he's too old, and he's like 7.
They say that again in this. He's 10, by the way.
Like, okay, he's like 10 years old, and he's too old. So, and it takes years and years and years to master Jedi, like, to master being a Jedi. And then Luke's there for what, like 2 weeks?
Something like that, yeah.
I
just think he was that talented in it. I think he got enough.
It's because he's Anakin's kid.
Yeah, we also don't know how long he was training with Ben, so
Not that long. A few days.
well, it's never stated in the movies, so it could have been weeks.
Or anywhere else.
Yeah. Yoda, when Luke leaves, Yoda says, or Obi-Wan was like, that kid is our only hope. And then Yoda was like, nah, there's another one. And then it's never touched on again. So it's like, a lot of people were like, oh, it's Rey. Well, when you think about it, when you think about it, the Force precognition is, so Yoda could not see the outcome of what was going to happen with Han and Leia. And Yoda also says that, like, the future's constantly changing. There's no constants when you use Force precognition. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, in Episode 3, the Jedi are like, yeah, we can't really use the Force anymore because the dark side's so strong right now. The dark side's blocking our ability to use the Force. So the dark side would still be super strong right now, which means Yoda would not be able to see it being Rey. Mm-hmm. So I think this was a line for the direct sequel trilogy that we were supposed to get. I think was going to be a line for someone else, like a different character.
Yeah, but it never made it that far.
Yeah. Vader can block lasers with his hands.
So can Kylo.
Well, not like the Kylo Ren stopping it and then shooting it around later. He just straight up is like,
he's like, nah.
He blocks it. I have written down young Carrie Fisher's hot as fuck. Leia not trusting Lando was just the Force. Han's death is still emotional. Some cuts in the Disney Plus version are just bad. Like, they cut right in the middle of scenes and they don't try and, like, transition the music or anything.
Right.
Oh, this kind of peeved me. At the start of the movie, everyone's calling him Han, but as soon as they get to Cloud City and Lando calls him Han, everyone starts calling him Han. Which George Lucas writes that off as, oh, it's just regional dialect, which makes sense, but what the fuck?
Okay, but regional dialect, that was a sticking, like, joke point in Solo.
Yeah,
that Lando is the only person that called him Han.
Yeah, so it's just, you almost tipped over my can, dog.
Crush your can.
Gonna move it back that way. Rule number 12: always crush your hands.
Always crush your hands.
Vader's respirator is noticeably absent when they're in the carbonite chamber, which to me makes it seem more like a fight between Luke and Anakin, because Vader's always like, "Oh, you're doing this right. You trained well, whatever." But then in a later fight, the respirator comes back and it's more violent, so it's like Vader again. Also, so the fight's in like 3 parts. It's the carbonite chamber, which is awesome. The carbonite chamber scene is so fucking cool. Then they go into this like room and Vader's just like, I'm gonna stop using my lightsaber, just throw things at you with the Force. And Luke, being the useless twink that he is, can't hit a single thing out of the air,
and just gets battered.
He gets bodied, and then Vader's like, and he misses, and it breaks the window, and then Luke just goes and gets sucked out the window.
Yeah, pretty much.
The big reveal is still good, and then after Vader's like, yeah, I'm your dad, come join me, Luke's like, nah, I'm gonna kill myself, and then just jumps off into the pit of Cloud City.
Okay, but
he doesn't. You cannot tell me, unless there is like something written somewhere that he knew that he was gonna get saved. He jumps off into a giant pit and then gets sucked into like a garbage disposal chute and then slides around and then gets dropped. And the reason that I loved this movie as a kid was because of the scene where he gets sucked into the weird garbage disposal chute and he's sliding around. That's the only reason I liked this movie as a kid. And then the last shot of the movie is not that good. So.
Oh, where they're looking at the entire fleet.
When they're looking at a galaxy? Yeah.
In the original cut, it's the entire.
Well, yeah, they changed it to like a galaxy. So overall rating, if Star Wars: The Clone Wars did not exist to make Episode 3 the greatest movie in the Star Wars saga, this would be my favorite movie. 8 out of 10. Would definitely watch again.
See, I like Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and I like Episode 3. I do think Episode 5 is the best one, though.
It's really good. It's a lot of people's number one.
I just think it's the best written one.
It's also not directed by George Lucas at all. George Lucas was just the executive producer, which basically just means George Lucas watched the movie at the end and was like,
Yeah, that's okay.
yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, but no, I wanted to talk about something since we've gotten this huge... This is the last note on Star Wars, and then we can transition to something else. We'll go into your questions or whatever. But
I forgot I had questions.
But I was thinking about this the other day when we got this huge content drop of all the new things that are coming onto Disney Plus that we're going to be getting Star Wars wise, and it got me thinking about like what new stuff could they do with Star Wars? Because all the stuff that everyone has been talking about, a lot of the stuff that everyone's been saying,
bring the Gray Jedi back in.
I'm not even talking that. Like
I am, because they're my favorite.
They're pretty cool.
They're fucking awesome.
But something that I think was really refreshing and really cool was this Mandalorian series.
Oh, so good.
Because it's not related to the Jedi. It's not related to the big struggle in the galaxy.
I think they will, though.
It probably eventually.
In the end, it'll start tying back in.
It'll probably start tying back in, which I won't like because I love Star Wars as a universe. I'd love it if we had more self-contained stories, and it got me thinking. What's one of the coolest parts of Star Wars that isn't the big war and the Jedi? What's one of the coolest parts?
All of the things that are not Star Wars.
The creatures you see in it, like all the weird alien monsters.
I think the bounty hunters and like all of the subcultures and stuff are the coolest part.
That's cool. But
it's like I think we're just getting a Star Wars bounty hunter show, which is gonna be sick.
That'll be cool.
And if it's anything like the reality TV bounty hunter shows, it's gonna be funny as shit.
Like Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Dog the Bounty Hunter
in space. Oh my gosh.
That's what I want. I want a mockumentary Star Wars bounty hunter series.
Dude, you're being loud.
I don't care.
I love you. Okay. So
Questions,
I was thinking like do like a series kind of based on the aliens, like the alien monsters of Star Wars. That'd be fun.
Do you remember Star Wars droids?
Why'd you have to bring that up?
Exactly. That's what I thought.
Oh man.
Also, I'm pretty sure the MS-DOS game Star Wars Droids was based off of the cartoon Star Wars Droids, which is no longer canon.
Good.
So
It should never have been canon.
also there was a guy whose name was like Kybo Ren.
Kybo Ren. Oh god.
The Sith guy.
Karibo.
Kybo Ren, and he stole a bunch of Imperial stuff.
Okay, let's go on to your questions. Let's
I
get off our half hour.
How do you make a pencil?
Ooh, that's a good question. You ask the pencil fairy, and she does it very nicely.
She does it very nicely. All right. So I don't know if you saw, a couple weekends ago, I went on a trip, and everything I posted on my Instagram story was like a picture of my leg, and it said leg update.
Leg update.
So someone asked me, where did leg updates originate? So not to mention the person, I'm just going to use what her Discord name is in my server right now. I had a friend in middle school, and she's still a friend now. Her name is Forehead. Can you not do that? And in middle school, we would just send each other pictures that said leg update. And then right before the trip, she sent me a leg update for the first time in a while. And yeah, I started doing it again. It's funny now.
I think leg update's really funny.
Leg update is great.
And I saw something a couple weeks before that. And I sent it to our group chat on Instagram, and none of you thought it was funny. It was a Africa check, just making sure Africa
check is dead meme.
It is a dead meme.
That was kind of disgusting.
That was really gross.
I'm gonna cut that.
Oh, please cut that.
All right, next question. Yeet?
Ooh.
Personally, yote.
I don't know, more of a yeet guy.
You're a
But
yeet
to
guy.
yeet or not to yeet? That is the question.
What is the best soup? Clam chowder.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Or maybe chicken noodle.
I think it's clam chowder. I think
Clam chowder's pretty
chowder's
banging.
my favorite.
Our the clam chowder
At
at the pub is
It
awesome.
Awesome.
All right. I have a couple more questions I want to ask specifically you.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna do a podcast with Dylan later, so I'm gonna save those for that.
Ooh, fun.
How do you know when you've had too much cheese?
Ooh, when your poops turn green.
That's good.
Okay, so
It's good.
Can I tell a weird story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mom brought home a wheel of brie cheese.
Oh man,
And brie cheese is my favorite cheese.
I'm the brie.
And I ate a lot of brie.
I'm gonna brie.
And I just, like, for a week, just unhealthy amount of just
Of brie cheese.
No, of bowel movements.
Yeah.
Is what I'll say.
It's kind of where I'm sitting right now.
Like, it was an unhealthy amount, and they just didn't. It wasn't good.
No, sir.
That's all I'll say about that.
Okay, last question I want to ask you.
Oh, last one.
What's your opinion on mantis shrimp having more color receptors than us? Meaning they can possibly see more colors. Then wouldn't they have the highest capabilities of colors? Personally, what terrifies me about them having more color receptors, they have like 26 more color receptors, which means they can see 26 colors that you can't even fucking imagine. In your mind, you literally cannot think about these colors.
That's kind of insane to comprehend.
Yeah.
Because when you start throwing in the entire light spectrum, that's where colors come from.
Well, only the colors that we see.
Yeah, but that's all we can see, so that's all the light spectrum is to us.
Exactly.
And something that can
They have
see,
so many more color receptors that they can pick out the things in between the things.
What does that stuff look like to something that
you
can
can't
see?
you can't think about it. I challenge you out. It's like when you were a kid and you ask someone, "Hey, think of a color that no one's ever said before." You can't do it.
Darp.
Cornflower blue.
That's such a good moment.
It's a good moment.
So, for those of you that haven't seen the video, there's this channel on YouTube called The Valley Folk.
Valley Folk.
Go subscribe them. Great channel.
Subscribe to this podcast.
I'll plug it at the end for you. Don't worry. The Valley Folk is a group of people that were all in SourceFed. For those of you that remember SourceFed, and when there was this person named Lee Newton on the thing, they did this show called Trivia Bidet. And for those of you that don't know what a bidet is, it's basically a toilet that's just like, hey, you don't need toilet paper. I'm just gonna blow water in your butt. And
Sustainability, am I right?
Their bidet was broken, so the pressure would just make it just fire, and it would go from like their bidet would be like in the corner, and it would be able to hit the other side of the room. So they'd bring people on, set them on the bidet.
I have a question about Trivia of Bidet. Would they do it in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It was their bidet in their office. It was broken, and they just never fixed it.
So bidets normally like go on the toilet.
Yeah.
So where did they have this one set up?
On the toilet.
But why would they leave the broken one on the toilet? Because those things are kind of hard to take on and off.
They never used. They had 2 toilets in the office, and they used that one for Trivia Bidet.
So they just have a useless toilet. Then they probably have toilet paper with it.
No, it's their content toilet, I guess. Okay, can we not? But no, Gus Johnson went on to Trivia Bidet. Gus Johnson went on to Trivia Bidet, and there was this little segment that they had where they just kind of go through a 64 pack of Crayola crayons, pull out a crayon, and the person has to guess what color that is. And they pull out a crayon, and without skipping a beat, Gus Johnson says cornflower blue.
It was amazing.
He's the only person out of all the times that they've done that segment to get the color right. It was insane.
Cornflower blue. It's probably his like favorite color. I don't know.
Oh, he also got they asked what the space between the genitalia and the butthole is.
The taint.
What's the scientific name?
Oh shoot.
It's the perineum. And
it's the grundle.
It's the grundle. What I call my sister, grundle. But no, it's called the perineum, and the only reason he knew that is because he used it in a sketch.
Oh yeah.
Did you have any more questions?
I have a lot more questions, but I want to save some.
Well, ask me a couple more.
I'll see what I have on Instagram. I don't have as many on Instagram. Is ice cream waterproof?
No. If you put water on ice cream, it'll melt a little bit.
What I'm upset about is a lot of these questions that I got asked this time were like questions for just me. So
Why don't you ask them, see if I can input?
Yeah. Okay. So these are from our boy, Travis.
Travis Helling.
Yes, sir.
Love that boy. I saw him the other day. He
How-
was wearing his stupid
how do you-
Vikings bread
How
farm
do you
shirt.
maintain an ass that looks like a mantle?
Okay.
Follow-up question. May I rest a nice Stephen King novel atop it with a nice Yankee candle? To the first one, squats and running. To the second one, yes, and I want photos, and they will be nude.
Will we post them on here
Yes.
or on the Bop It With Legs V2?
Bob with legs V2, baby. Oh,
Plugging-
that's
plugging-
grade 8 spam comment right there.
That's a plug. That's a plug.
No, it's not. It's a private account, baby.
Go follow it. Go
No, don't.
Go follow Bop It With
Please
Legs
don't.
V2.
You'll get rejected.
Any new followers, whether he knows
You'll
you
be
or-
rejected.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna check what time we're at again.
it's
I
okay.
really need to angle the laptop better.
You do. That's kind of a
Okay, we're good.
look at that butt. Stop that, please.
Never.
Okay.
You can't make me do anything.
I wanted to bring up another topic.
Bring it up, baby.
Bring it up. So, as you know, and as most of your fans probably don't know,
Probably.
I'm a huge, and it's kind of annoying, wrestling fan.
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
I'm going to fucking kill you.
Well, no, the Royal Rumble's it's tomorrow at the time of
See that spoon right there? See that spoon? I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Oh no.
I'm kidding. Go ahead, talk about it.
It'll be quick.
Because I know you're excited.
The Royal Rumble's tomorrow, and the Royal Rumble's.
Oh, it's tomorrow?
It's tomorrow night.
Oh, shoot.
At the time of recording.
That's a big deal.
Sunday night. Go, if Calvin puts this out before tomorrow, go subscribe to the WWE Network, support them, go watch the Rumble. A lot of fun.
I'm gonna be real. My favorite wrestling event to watch is the Royal Rumble.
It's so insane.
It's like Mr. You know the guy you told me about, Dude Love, Humanity,
Yeah.
that guy?
Man,
Mr. Grant and I talked about him
Yeah.
in class, and he was like, that was my favorite Royal Rumble.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know about the Royal Rumble, the Royal Rumble basically starts the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah,
And
it's
basic-
kind of a big deal.
It's a big deal. WrestleMania is their big pay-per-view during the year. It's the biggest show that they put on. It's a huge spectacle. And Royal Rumble starts the build up to that. And it's about 4 or so months of just building up these really intricate storylines. And it all starts at the Rumble. Because how the Rumble works is it starts with 2 guys in the ring, right?
Yeah, and then like, what is it, every
Ev-
3 minutes?
Every 90 seconds.
That's
There's
not a lot of time.
No, it's not a lot of time. Every 90 seconds.
It's a minute and a half.
A new person comes in and it goes all the way up to 30. And the only way to eliminate someone from the match is if you throw them over the top rope of the ring and both of their feet touch the floor on the outside of the ring.
There was one time where someone got thrown out of the ring, and then his teammates walked him back to the ring by making him step on pancakes.
Yeah.
So both of his feet technically did not touch the ground. They were touching the pancakes.
That's
So he was not eliminated. It was New Day.
yeah, it was Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston's infamous for
He's
stepping.
hilarious too. His YouTube account, funny as shit.
Kofi Kingston or Xavier Woods with up down down. Because I didn't know
Whichever one has a YouTube account. I thought all
Xavier.
3 of them had a
No,
YouTube.
just Xavier. And he
Just
has
Xavier? Okay, well Xavier's
Plug in.
hilarious.
Plug-in up down down.
For real.
Xavier Woods, Austin Creed's his name. Awesome dude, really funny. Speed recovery, suffering from a Achilles tendon tear.
Pulled his hammy too hard.
Achilles tendon.
Don't want to pull your hammies, you know
But
what
no,
I'm saying?
The Royal Rumble is a lot of fun, and there's 30 entrants to the match, and the only way to win is to be the last guy in the ring. And that means you get to challenge for whatever title you want at WrestleMania.
I saw something. Keep going. I want to talk about it later.
Okay. And then you get to challenge whoever you want in the main event of WrestleMania, but sometimes it's not always the main event because Vince McMahon doesn't think people deserve the main event
Well,
spot.
I have 2 things I want to talk about.
Okay. But no, the one you were talking about was there was a wrestler back in the days when Dwayne Johnson was still wrestling, and his name was Mick Foley.
Mick Foley.
Mick Foley had 3 famous characters that he played, because I didn't know if you guys know this. Wrestling's not 100% real.
Oh my god. How could... I can't...
It's not all real.
I can't live my life like this.
Hey guys, welcome to the Convos with William podcast. I'm your host. I'm using the bathroom. Keep going. And I can hear you. Well, Calvin's got to go do something really quick. So what he was talking about was Mick Foley had 3 famous characters. There was Dude Love, which was basically just this hippie dude. Mankind, which was like this weird, insane commentary on the everyday working man. And he lived in the boiler room of whatever arena they were in that night. So it was kind of strange. And then there was Cactus Jack. And Cactus Jack was kind of an ECW character, not a WWE character. And he did the spots where you see like people with bats covered in barbed wire and like flaming rings. And Cactus Jack was the really insane one that just did the craziest spots. And so the one Rumble that Calvin and Mr. Grant were talking about, Mick Foley came in with his Cactus Jack character and got eliminated. Then 2 entries later came in with his Mankind character, got eliminated. And then came back with his Dude Love character and then made it to like the final 3.
Guess what? He got eliminated.
He got eliminated.
I didn't actually watch it. I don't know.
The Royal Rumble is always a lot of fun because there's always room for people to come in that are surprise
It's a
entrances.
fun one. I'm gonna be real.
That are surprise entrances that are like faces you haven't seen in a long time or people you didn't think would be in the match. And I'm a little apprehensive about it this year because usually they only announce like 15 or so people that are going to be in the Rumble.
Did they announce them all?
They have 26,
Come
maybe.
on, that only leaves like 4 people to be surprise entries.
26 to 27, because they have this character on there well, he's not on there right now, but he's been around for a long time. His name's R-Truth, and I got to show you some R-Truth clips sometimes. He's the dumbest. Like the character he plays is the dumbest individual ever. Like he's got the 24/7 championship.
Oh yeah, baby.
And that's just a title that gets
24/7.
Yeah, 24/7.
If he's in a restaurant eating dinner with his wife, someone can come in and like karate chop him, and if he dies, they get the belt.
He pinned a guy for the 24/7 championship.
I don't know if that's how it works. I'm just making stuff up, and it sounds
no,
correct.
Calvin, that's right.
That's right.
That's right. He lost the 24/7 championship, and then a week later, crashed a guy's wedding.
Sleep with one eye open.
Crashed another guy's wedding to steal the championship back. And then the guy won it back from R-Truth, and then R-Truth snuck into his hotel room where his wife and him were on the honeymoon and pinned him during coitus, as he called it. It's so...
Golira.
Oh my Lord.
Okay.
But yeah, the Royal Rumble's a lot of fun. This year, I'm a little apprehensive about it because I don't think it's going to be as big of a surprise factor unless they really bring back some big names that people want to see.
We'll get Undertaker 2. And
Undertaker's one of the names that people think could enter the match.
The Fiend is going to
face Daniel Bryan.
Masturbate on stage.
Well, kind of. He's in a strap match with Daniel Bryan. And a strap match is just basically they're in the corners of the ring.
They have 2 rubber bands tied to their feet, and they cannot walk that far. So they can only punch and slap.
It's a leather strap attached to their wrist. It gets
and
pretty bad.
It's like flag football, and they have to pull it off and eat it.
No, they're strapped together, so they can't run away from each other.
I like that a lot. Okay, 2 things I want to talk about.
Okay.
This, I'm not gonna diss this guy, but I don't think that he could play this role. Tom Holland is in an Uncharted movie that's been delayed to March 5th, 2021 now.
He could play a young Nathan Drake.
A young Nathan Drake, but not Nathan Drake.
No. A young Nathan Drake, that'd be cool to see.
Tom Holland's like, what, 25? And he literally plays a 15-year-old in the MCU.
A very convincing 15.
A very convincing 15-year-old. Also, Space Force is now official.
Yeah.
We have a logo, and you can enlist for it now.
Let me see. Oh, that's cool.
Space Force, baby.
I'm kind of hyped for
I'm going to space.
I'm kind of hyped for Space Force.
Or as I once mistyped it, Suave Force.
Suave Force.
Suave Force.
Hold on, real quick. What's the Suave Force, Calvin?
No, Suave Force.
Suave.
SOAVE Force.
Suave.
Suave Force. Also, Gus Johnson, I'm sorry, my father. I have failed No P January.
Oh, dang it. You failed No
It's
P.
just too hard.
Thor is upset with you.
Thor, the founder of No P January, is upset with me greatly.
Oh, what's the other guy's
Simply,
name?
my balls were too inflated and they could not fit into my pants. Yummy.
Tasty.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my Lord. That's actually really... I've gotten on a podcast kick lately. Like
Me too.
The first podcast I listened to was The Valley Folk.
Yeah, I
Their
have a
podcast.
podcast and I listen to podcasts. Who would have thought?
Whoa. But no, The Valley Folk was the first podcast I started listening to. Then I listened to Smosh's podcast.
Smosh has a good one.
Smosh has-
Ian has really good mic skills.
Ian,
It's awesome.
Ian does a good job at doing the Smoshcast. And even when he's not on it, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
But I started watching Gus and Eddie, and for those I hate to go back to wrestling, but the New Day got a podcast and WWE funded it, and the New Day, they're so good, they're such entertaining people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called New Day Feel the Power, or I think it's just Feel the Power, and it's honestly one of the better podcasts I've ever listened to. It's really good. I think you should listen to it. You guys go support the New Day.
But you should watch this podcast instead.
Yeah, watch this podcast.
This was a good one.
Like, subscribe, hit the bell.
Like, subscribe, hit the bell.
Hit the bell.
Support me on Patreon. We're on Spotify and Anchor now too. We're in the new age.
If you don't, I'll be in your closet tonight.
Exactly. I'm gonna be in your drawers and I'm gonna poop in a sock.
Oh, we talked about a pee drawer the other
Pee
day.
drawer.
You kind of said it as this offhanded comment.
I said it as a joke, and
And
then
then-
Mom was like, "Excuse me?
That's one of the
You
things.
pee in a drawer?"
That's one of the things that I love about our mother.
It was great.
It's just
She
that-
doesn't like question it.
Well, no, she.
Also, I've been looking at the gun case in your room, and there's all these like shotguns and hunting rifles, and then there's just a plastic BB gun in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of you that can't see it,
It's
this-
completely out of frame, so you can't
yeah,
see
you
it.
Can't see it. There's a gun case in my room that was my grandfather's, and it's most of
It's
his.
like
It's most of his guns.
there's straight up a musket, a hunting rifle. There's a regular 22, a 22 that has a lever action. There's a pump shotgun, and then his hunting shotgun that's steam powered.
Yeah.
And it's
pretty
really ornate and beautiful.
It's really
And there are
cool.
all these guns in our cabinet, and then there's just a plastic BB gun.
Well, also, I don't know. I really kind of want this out of here because I don't know why, but I don't like it having it in my room
I get it. No, I get it.
because it's not my stuff. I don't like
It's
guns.
well, you're lucky it's locked up. So
It's not my stuff. Don't like guns.
I'm a
not my
bow
thing.
guy personally.
Well, yeah, it's because you worked in an archery range for 2 years.
I'm
Okay.
gonna be real. I kind of forgot I was a certified archery instructor for a little bit, and then I got an email from
always-
USA Archery that was like, "Hey, there's a bunch of scammers going around trying to steal people's information on their archery certifications, so watch out." And I was like, "Huh, I forgot I have that."
It's still kind of weird for me to think about me being 6'2" and over 300 pounds, that I'm a certified climbing instructor.
I could give people lessons. I could ask for money for lessons on archery stuff. Me, a
I can't.
complete buffoon.
I can't do that, but I can go to like any rock climbing gym, show them that certificate, and they hire me on the spot, pretty much,
Yeah.
and I could teach lessons then.
You're lucky for that,
But
honestly.
no, let's talk about camp a little bit. Have you?
I
Ever
don't want to talk about camp because we're at an hour.
Oh, we're at an hour now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we can do like one short topic.
One short topic. What do you want to talk about? What's got you excited other than Star Wars lately? What do you got going on?
Apparently a Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC came out.
Really?
I didn't know about it until it came out 2 days ago, I think. And I didn't know that it came out.
What is it?
It's called Remind. I think it adds... So you know how like Kingdom Hearts 3 had that cliffhanger ending? Where like Sora
Sora's,
disappeared.
Sora disappeared.
So it's directly after that. So it adds a whole bunch of new abilities to the game, and it adds an episode, and it adds more secret endings and stuff. And now there's this. So you know how like, you know how some games will have like, oh, if you're playing the game, that was really loud. I'm sorry.
Sorry, headphone
Yeah.
users. Jesus.
Sorry, everyone.
Everyone.
So you know how games are like, oh, you can put on these modifiers to make the game more difficult and you'll get bonus rewards.
Yeah.
So that's a DLC thing now.
Right.
So like, you know how in the start of the game where all the memories are flying down, it's like, oh,
Mhm.
health, magic, balance, defense, attack, magic. Well, now there's one for normal adventure,
Mhm.
joke adventure,
Mhm.
like easiest crap. And then we are going to take this strap on and we are going to ruin you. Also known as pro mode,
Yeah.
which literally one of the abilities is you will constantly take damage until you have 1 health. And then there are other abilities like no healing items, can't use cure, stuff like that.
Oh no.
So you know there's going to be someone out there that has, there's one that's like, so there's already a 0 XP ability, but there's one that's no one gains XP. There's one that's like you only have 30 ability points.
Mm-hmm.
There's one, so you know there were Kupo coins, which lets you automatically revive if you die.
Right.
No Kupo coins, which is fine by me
I guess.
because they suck. There's one that like constantly burns out your magic. There's one where if your teammates pass out in a fight, they can't get back up during the fight. There's a whole bunch of them that just make the game hard as crap. Like critical mode in Kingdom Hearts games were already like
Pretty hard.
because Kingdom Hearts as an action game can be pretty hard.
Even
It's
on normal
it's
or
a
easy,
very
it
very
gets
intense action game. Like the final boss of Kingdom Hearts 3, I was playing standard. I got my butt handed to me.
It's a really hard fight. Even
I've
even on easy.
been playing a lot more action games, so I'm better, and I've been playing it on proud mode, and it's like Kingdom Hearts 3 was, they made it in proud mode.
Mm-hmm.
They made it in proud mode, and they were like, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
But did it add any like story beats? Or
It added I haven't played Remind yet because I have to play through the main game
to get to
Remind, but Remind added a whole bunch of stuff.
Story wise.
Yeah. So like,
do you think we're gonna get the whole new sequel, or do you think they're gonna flesh out everything?
I
That's
think
going
they'll
on?
flesh it out in DLC.
That's what I was thinking.
'Cause I think
they've
that-
said that this is the definitive. This is it in
Well,
the past.
they said they're gonna make more. They're starting a new saga. So you know how this Star Wars was like the end of the Skywalker saga?
They're doing
This was the end of the Xehanort saga. So we're getting more.
like just like you're getting more.
But
This
I
might be the
know
end of seeing like Sora, but we're still
Yeah.
gonna get stuff based in the Kingdom Hearts.
I know
universe.
Remind lets you play as a whole bunch of different characters though. Like I think you get to play as Aquamore, you get to play as Ven, I think you get to play as Roxas.
I know you're gonna be hyped
You get to
about that.
yeah, I am. I haven't been able to play Roxas since
360.
358 over 2 days.
That was going back to it. Fun game.
The
Fun game.
gameplay in it is trash, but
it's a fun game.
there's this one retrospective where the guy talks about it and he's like, the game is good because it's bad. And then
Yeah.
everyone was like, fuck.
What?
you what?
Yeah.
But Kingdom Hearts will always have a special place in my heart, and the more I've been playing through this game, the more I realize that a lot of Kingdom Hearts and a lot of Star Wars are just the same.
Right.
Like the light and dark, it's just the Force, baby. Even Riku was like, yeah, I know. It's like, I'm excited to be here for some reason, but it's not adrenaline, and it's not like the rush of darkness either. And I was like,
angsty.
huh. And then Mickey is like, fear and whatever else, and the search for power can lead to falling to the darkness. And then I was like,
Okay,
oh my gosh.
Can we take a
Star
second?
Wars, literally you could pick any of the Star Wars movies and it would have been great as a Kingdom Hearts world. And now Disney owns it and they could do it. Give me Star Wars. I want a lightsaber keyblade.
Kingdom Hearts has this such insane, almost asinine storyline, and then it blows me away when I remember the fact that there's Disney characters in it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole of the gameplay.
Nah, so it really, the start of the game, anime, and then there's the Disney worlds, which
And
is
then there-
nothing,
And then there's anime.
or I like to call it the grind, and then there is anime. So Kingdom Hearts 3 is literally the start, Kingdom Hearts 2.9
Yeah.
And then the game starts, and it is a 35-hour slog.
To more anime.
The only standout moment, the only thing that I remember from the Kingdom Hearts 3, like going through the world, is in the Toy Story world. Woody looks at a young Xehanort and says, you have no friends and nobody loves you. And then he takes a big shit on the floor and young Xehanort dies.
Is that Tom Hanks?
No, it's not. It's not Tom Hanks or Tim Allen.
Oh my lord! I wish they would
It's
have
just
gotten those guys
knockoff
back.
actors. Yeah, it wouldn't happen. Fat chance. But I think when they did the Tron World and Dream Drop Distance, they got the actual voice actors.
No, they did.
So, and if they did a Star Wars world, I feel like they would set it in the Clone Wars TV show.
That'd be fun.
And they would get those voice actors.
That'd probably be the best time to put it in, honestly.
Yeah. So.
But if they did do Star Wars, would Star Wars kind of be an omnipresent thing across all the worlds?
No, I don't think so. I think it'd be isolated, and I think they would be like, "Oh, light side, and we're gonna fight dark side people." And
which planet would they use then for Star Wars?
So what I feel like they would do, so in Kingdom Hearts 3, you know, when you did the Pirates of the Caribbean world, how you could go to different islands and stuff.
Do you think they do?
I think they do something like that.
But then you get into the thing of, well, you fly in space between worlds to get to this world, so
you just fly more gummy ship.
Fly more gum.
I think they'd isolate it to one world, and they'd probably do something that's like multi-fed. What if they just had you go through a Starfleet? That'd be boring. Okay, maybe now we know why Star Wars wouldn't work in Kingdom Hearts.
Calvin, the only reason Star Wars wouldn't work.
Oh no, we started talking Star Wars, and now we're back on Star Wars.
Oh no. The only reason I don't want Star Wars in a Kingdom Hearts game is because I'm inevitably going to see a gummy ship dogfight, and I don't want it. I don't want it.
Crossing in the hero's journey, there's one stage, it's called Crossing the Threshold,
Gummy
or as
ship.
true literary geniuses like to call it,
Gummy ship.
boarding the gummy ship.
And on that note, thank you guys for watching the Convos with Calvin podcast. I've been William. That's Calvin. Hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Punch that notification bell. Give it a nice little whack.
Please don't hit the camera.
I'm not going to. It's like 4 feet away. Hit
Your
the
vibes.
notification.
We'll check them.